Hey viewers, welcome to Tigers Talk. This is episode 2 and we're so excited to have you here. I'm your host, Christopher Grant.
And I'm your co-host, Samantha Avila.
It's Friday the 13th of 2020 and are you creeped out about that, Samantha?
Not really, Christopher. I try not to be superstitious, especially because 2020 I think has had enough of that. So I'm going to take it as a normal Friday, and it's Friday, which is something to look forward to. So like I said, it's a Friday, all good things. I'm going to just keep good vibes because that's what this year needs. And of course, this is one of those Fridays nearing the end of the semester, which means we are nearing the end of our show. But we are going to have a couple more episodes for you this year, and we have so much more to look forward to next year as well.
Yeah, and we have heard lots of great feedback from you about episode 1, and we're just happy here at Eagle Eye that you guys are enjoying the show. So we have lots for you today, lots of exciting things, and you just got to stick around. Don't go anywhere. Tigers Talk will be right back.
Welcome back to Tigers Talk. We're going to go ahead and start our community countdown where we tell you about things going on and around Auburn's campus. This week, in our number 5 spot, we have downtown Auburn hosting Blue Friday. Blue Friday is their version of Black Friday, which is every Friday after Thanksgiving, and this year, downtown merchants will be able to have extended hours, exclusive specials, all for the Auburn community to shop downtown and enjoy their Blue Friday. Christopher, are you going to participate?
Of course, I got to be there. You know, you got to come with me too. We got to go down there and get some stuff for Blue Friday.
Yes, retail therapy is exactly what we need.
Of course, yeah. And in our number 4 spot this week, we want to highlight Will Humphreys, who is a junior at Auburn University. He designs, he sells, and he makes face masks. And I really like this. I really like this story, Samantha, because I feel like as university students, this is how we should be thinking, innovative. And he found an opportunity from our situation right now. He's benefiting financially and he's also helping the community to stay safe.
Yes, I totally agree. I think, honestly, 2020 having face masks is not something that we had anticipated, again, but this is something kind of unique. Everybody has the face mask because they have to wear it, especially more often, than not when they're going into establishments or restaurants or anything like that. So why not make it personal? And I think this is such a great way to give back to the community, help out others, and again, give it a personal touch. I always see masks on campus that have like a little Auburn logo or tiger stripes, and I think it's really, really cute. And in our number 3 spot, we have COSAM Campfires. The College of Science and Mathematics hosted COSAM Campfires for families of 6 who were able to purchase a ticket for $6 and go to the Davis Arboretum, where they were able to join around a campfire and listen to several mini talks about science, technologies, and other specific topics. Christopher, did you go?
No, I didn't, but I bet it was fun and it was nice with this temperature that we're getting right now. Some campfire would be perfect in my life.
Yes, I think fire is exactly what we need, but you know what? It's okay because we're here and we're doing it.
We're doing it. In the number 2 spot, Auburn University partners with Regions Bank to teach students about financial wellness. They have been doing this program for a while now with student athletes, and they decided to extend this program towards the wider student population. I really like this idea because I believe that this is the reason why we come to university is to learn how to secure a future or financial future. And Samantha, in times like these when we have a crisis, it gives us time to think. It begs us to think about how can we know that we're going to be able to financially secure a future where if there comes a time like this again, are we going to be able to be financially fit or financially well? And what the university doing is just great, and we just got to be grateful for that. And they've recently done their first seminar on that, and it's been successful. They had employees from Auburn and they had students at Auburn, and it went well. I really like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, we always have teachers preparing us for that rainy day, and this year that rainy day came for a lot of students and a lot of families. So having this financial wellness, having this knowledge to take with us after we graduate and hopefully, find jobs and live our own lives, having financial wellness and knowledge is so important and crucial, and this is a great way to help students know that.
Solid.
And in our number 1 spot, we have UPC hosting War Dam Coffee Jam yesterday to have students get together and socialize before the Thanksgiving break. Christopher, I think this is such a great way for UPC and other organizations on campus to get together and still have these social gatherings for students while following proper COVID protocols. I think is such a great way to have students come together. This semester is not what anybody had expected, obviously, but I think UPC and other organizations having these events is a great way to bring students together and kind of have a little bit of Auburn family when I think we all need it the most.
Yes, Samantha, I totally agree with that, especially in these times when we're so close to having final exams and we're so close to having Thanksgiving, and it's close to Christmas time and all these times are the times where it's essentially talking about getting together. And I just believe that even though it's unsafe to get together, getting together safely will do a lot for our psyche going into exams. And that was just a wonderful opportunity. I wish I was there. I had practice and all that. I was tired, but it's good to have students getting together. So that's it for our Community Countdown this week. Go to our Instagram and our Twitter, Instagram at AU Tigers Talk Show and our Twitter at AU Tigers Talk, so that you can tell us what you think about this week's Top 5. Don't go anywhere. Tigers Talk will be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Tigers Talk. This is our chit chat segment where we feature multiple interesting Auburn Tigers. This week, Samantha caught up with Tyler Ward and had an amazing interview. Take a look.
Everyone, welcome back. Today, our interview is with Tyler Ward. Tyler Ward is a junior at Auburn University studying political science, and he is involved with the Black Student Union. He is an Honors College ambassador, a student involvement ambassador. He's also involved with SGA and a head counselor with first-year experience here at Auburn. Tyler, how are you?
I'm making it. How are you, Samantha?
I'm good. Can I just say, first off, I think this is an interview that I have been looking forward to for so long. I think as soon as I found out that I was going to be interviewing you, I was like, yes, Tyler Ward is such an amazing person. There's so much to talk about with him, and I could not be more excited to be sitting here with you and doing this interview.
Thank you. I'm really excited, Samantha. Same thing to you. As soon as I found out you were going to be here.
Thank you. So a couple of questions to ease into our interview. The first question I have for you is, what are you feeling in this election season? This whole year obviously has been a whirlwind, and it's been really, really, packed with headlines ranging from really good to really bad. And we've all kind of had this crazy year. Kind of, every person has their own perspective about this year, but for you and specifically the election season, what has this, season meant to you?
Yeah, I think that as someone who is really passionate about diversity and equity and inclusion and things like that, throughout the entire year of 2020, it's kind of showed kind of our discrepancies between what may happen to different Americans versus what happens to Black and Brown Americans. And so I think the election is the same way, that whether it's voter suppression or whether it's COVID-19, you see that the things that impact the world impacts Black and Brown people way more. And so that's just been hard to live with. That's been hard to see. That's been hard to that's just been hard to go through as a community, as a Black community, and as a community of people that aren't always Black or Brown, to just go through that fight together. But it also feels good to know that there is some substantial data to everything that Black and Brown people have been saying. Now it cannot be they can't be discriminated against or ignored when we talk about this discrimination in healthcare and discrimination in the education system and discrimination in voting. And so kind of good and bad things with the election. All the bad things are only good because people can see them. And so it's been a tough one for sure.
I totally understand. I think, like I was saying earlier, this election season for a lot of people has been kind of on either side of the spectrum. We're kind of in the middle, where it's, been obviously dealt with a lot of opinions, a lot of, heavy thoughts and opinions from both sides. So I think, kind of in this turning point of the election, which, we've already passed election day and we're just waiting on the results, it's still a little anxious, I think. Everyone still has election anxiety. Everyone is still dealing with COVID in their own ways, whether or not they've had it or not. So mental health, has, kind of affected a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. So for you, what does mental health mean to you? What do you want people to know about mental health? And how do you think this year overall has affected everyone's mental health as a whole?
So mental health is something that's super close to me, something I'm super passionate about. as someone that has suffered with depression and anxiety in the past, is always prevalent. And when things like election season or just like even a shift in the weather comes up, like it's not always good for your mental health. And so as soon as during the summer, this past summer, when all of the murders started happening with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and things like that, I immediately reached out to Auburn Student Council and Psychological Services, beginning therapy every now and then, so that I kind of realized how important it is to get therapy during that time and to realize that you need help and ask people for that help. But I think that mental health right now is something that should be on the forefront and the focus of all students, especially with freshmen coming in. They were already trying to adapt to new things, to new environments, and them having to deal with something that has never been as intense or as anxiety driving as the election season in the midst of a global pandemic. And so I think that mental health is just it's an important conversation, but I think that one of the biggest things that people need to do is kind of be honest with themselves about where their mental health lies during this time, because I think sometimes it's easy for us to put on a mask or to put on some type of front, but I think the only way that we can succeed right now is to realize that we're all struggling and we're all struggling together, and the only way that we move on is to acknowledge that struggle and kind of look at ways that we can navigate that. And so just trying to make sure that people are open and honest about their mental health, but also realizing that this is, like, everyone's struggling just in different ways.
This year, we saw a record amount of voter turnout. We have people voting who are, first-time voters, 18 years old, 19, 20-year-olds, to 65-year-olds and older, who decided that this is an election that is way too important to miss out on. So they decided to make their voice heard, either by mail-in, absentee, early voting, or on the day of the election. So how did you vote if you voted this year? And what does that record number of voter turnout mean to you?
So I'll start with how I voted. I voted at the Lee County Courthouse on Thursday. So I waited 4.5 hours in line, which is dramatic compared to some of the people who voted in 35 minutes or less, which that's a conversation for a different day. But I voted on Thursday, voted a little early. They were out of I voted stickers, and so I was a little upset about that, but can't really do anything about it. But all in all, one of the biggest things that I think about when it comes to voter turnout is that more people have voted for Joe Biden than have ever voted for any candidate in history. And that just doesn't really even matter when it comes to our election system. And so I think it has showed and exemplified discrepancies in our election system, and that when more people can vote for a candidate than has ever voted before, and it literally means nothing, like absolutely nothing, I think that we have to kind of reflect on what that means for our nation, what that means for our electoral college, if there's anything that we can shift or change within it. But it also gives me a lot of hope to know that so many young people have gotten out and voted. So many old people have gotten out and voted. So many people that are middle-aged have gotten out and voted. And so people are really taking a hand and really taking the initiative when it comes to democracy. And so that's good to see, especially as a political science major. I also, like, one of the biggest things that made me happy is my mom voted for the first time in the presidential election this year, because she saw how important it was to me and to people that looked like me and felt like me.
Wow,
so,
nice.
I know. So just seeing things like that and that experience and the joy that I felt, I've been feeling that an overwhelming amount with so many votes, but it's just making sure that those votes count and that those votes really do make the difference that they're intended to.
And was this your first time voting, or had you voted in other elections before this?
So I voted in the special election. I believe it was in 2018 when it was between Doug Jones and Roy Moore. And so this was my first time voting for a presidential candidate. But I voted before, and it was definitely a completely different experience than I did previously, voting on amendments and voting on people in my county that I've never even heard of. And so it was a shift, but one that I enjoyed.
So at the beginning of the interview, I introduced you and I mentioned a couple of different things that you're involved in. And by a couple, I mean a lot. You're involved in the Black Student Union, like I said. You're an Honors College ambassador. You're a student involvement ambassador. You're a first-year experience head counselor. You're involved in SGA. All these things are, great on a resume and everything. But how do you deal with that in your personal life? How do you make time for each extracurricular activity? How do you commit, a certain amount of time to each one? Or is there one that you have more time commitment to? Or how do you kind of just deal with having all these responsibilities and being involved with so many things?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I tell people all the time when they ask me this question is that there's no position that I hold that I do things alone. And so whether it's my team within SGA or my team within BSU or people in student involvement that can cover my hours or other head counselors that are absolutely amazing or people in Honors College that can help me out, everything that I do is with people as well as for people. And so there's never things that I'm doing by myself. That's one. And two, whenever I try to do things for people, I try not to do things without them. And so with BSU, there's nothing that I do that doesn't include Black students. With SGA, I try not to make any moves that I don't talk to students or my friends or anyone first. And so it's just making sure that that team aspect, there's nothing that I can do alone in those regards. But also when it comes to me, it's some days where I have to say, okay, when I go home, it's like a 9 to 5 job. When 5 o'clock hits, I'm done with whatever I need to do. I might eat some ice cream. The other day, I ate some ice cream and watched Princess and the Frog. Sometimes I have to do that. I try to wake up early in the morning. Go on some runs. I've been running a lot. Do I enjoy it? No. Will it continue? Probably not. But for the time being, it was a good idea. But honestly, just doing simple things like that. I've been cooking more. Is it good? No. Would I let anyone else eat it? Probably not. But it's the sentiment. It's a sentiment, it's the thought. But just doing things that make me happy. I love to read. I read literally any and everything. And so just make sure I take the time out to do those things for myself and kind of treat myself in those regards, because at the end of the day, regardless of how I serve Auburn in all capacities, I'm still here to be a student. The first word in student leader is student. And so I got to make sure that always comes first. But the second one is also leader. And so I have to make sure I'm doing things and leading by example in everything that I do. And so trying to make sure that I focus on me while focusing on my team and never forgetting the people that I do it for is just kind of what keeps me grounded, keeps me to the core.
So I really like what you said about student leader and how student comes before leader, always making sure that you prioritize your studies and making sure you remain, like you said, as a student first and foremost, I think is really, really good advice.
Yeah. And I kind of just want to add too. So a couple weeks ago, we had a orientation for camp counselors that wanted to do it the next year. And over that orientation, a bunch of the head counselors got to share kind of things that were passionate to them, things that they liked, things that they loved, and kind of what made their experience. And so one of my best friends, another head counselor, James Dewar, he got up and he was talking about his personal experience. And he was talking about how he came in to Campbell Eagle so nervous, so scared, so afraid. And there was this one person that kind of calmed them down and made them feel safe. And at the end, he goes, this person standing right next to me, he's my best friend, Tyler. And he was like, one thing that I realized is that Tyler Ward may not have been that special friend to someone else, but everyone had a special Tyler Ward. And so, of course, I'm crying, blah, 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 blah. But one thing that kind of stuck with me and one thing that I wanted to make sure that I remembered as a leader is that my job is never to make the second Tyler Ward. My job is to never open doors just for other people to say, oh, Tyler Ward opened this door for me. My job is to open doors and then give people the keys and the resources to open the doors for themselves. And so, whenever, I do try to talk about, things that make me feel safe or make me feel better, people might not be able to do all the organizations that I did, or people may be able to do all the organizations that I did and more. And so, a lot of it is just adapting what you want to do to who you are as a person, whether that's the organizations you're involved in, the positions that you hold. And so I want to make sure that every time that I kind of speak about my leadership skills or my leadership qualities or what I want to do as a leader, that people know that it's always to enable other leaders to be themselves and never to make people be a second me, if that makes sense.
Yes, I love that. And I guess kind of to tie all of this back together, when you meet someone new, when you meet a new either freshman or a new transfer student or anybody who's coming to Auburn, kind of looking for ways to get involved, kind of like you, but in their own way, like you've said, making their own way and kind of finding out who they are and creating their own Auburn experience, what would be your, I guess, greatest piece of advice to students looking to get involved, but not necessarily knowing how? Maybe they don't want to jump into SGA, something that's so big, but they want to do something a little bit bigger than, one of the smaller groups on campus. So what's the greatest piece of advice that you would give to someone wanting to get involved at Auburn?
I would tell them to follow your childlike spirit. And what I mean by that is children do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, whenever it makes them happy. And so today, if they feel like they want some chocolate, they're going to go and they're going to ask their mama for some chocolate. Or I remember I used to play baseball when I was little. I was awful. I was probably the worst baseball player to ever hold a bat. But because it made me happy, I did it for so long. And so what I would tell people that are coming in is what makes you happy. You know what brings you joy. And it might not be something as big as SGA. It might be doing something like Campus Kitchen, where you literally just take people, where you just take leftover food and give it to people. Or it might be AUDM, where you literally get to dance while also doing things for kids and for kids that are either disabled or that have disabilities, things like that. Or it could be getting involved in the Eagles program to work with people for disabilities. And so just take whatever makes you happy and whatever gives you joy, however simple or profound that may be. Follow your childlike spirit and just do that. Your freshman year, just do whatever makes you feel happy and safe. And then you can grow and you can branch out after that. But if you start where you feel comfortable and where you feel safe, you'll be able to go out and kind of be uncomfortable in the best ways, and kind of chase the things that may be harder, but are also things that make you happy and bring you joy.
Thank you so much, Tyler. This was such a good interview. I really, really appreciate, all of your insightfulness and all your very wise words. I think this is all such good advice and information that people can use both here at Auburn and for the rest of their life. I think a lot of the things that you said were so profound, like you said, even though you didn't mean them to be, it was in the best way. So thank you so much, Tyler, for taking the time to sit down with us. And we look forward to meeting you and talking to you later, kind of when we can be in person, not on Zoom, but
yes.
This will have to do for now.
Yeah, I think this group and this organization is such a good initiative. I tell people all the time, you may never be able to walk in someone's footsteps, but you may never be able to walk in someone's shoes, but you can always look at their footsteps. And so I think that interviews like this are such a good way to show people's footsteps, where they've been, where they're going, where they are, so that you can just learn someone better. That's how we grow as an Auburn family, but also just how we grow as people in general. So I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. War Eagle, Tyler.
Very good, Samantha.
Welcome back to Tigers Talk. This part of our show is called Say What, and this is the part where we allow our audience to be a part of the show. Our question of the week is, what has 2020 taught you thus far? We had several responses, including our first one coming from DC Destiny on Instagram, and she said that online class is better than going to class. My schedule is not so packed and busy. And I kind of have to agree, Christopher. I think, yes, online classes have been a big adjustment, but at the same time, whether or not, you've gone from a super packed schedule to a super packed online schedule, it has given people a little bit more free time, which normally wouldn't happen.
It's interesting how this comment is very interesting, because the first episode we asked if people preferred Zoom classes or in-person classes, and most people said they never liked the Zoom classes. So to hear somebody say the opposite this week, it's quite interesting, and I can see what she is talking about when she says that she has more free time in her schedule and all that, because most of the times I lay around at home, not doing much after I'm done with classes. So there is some free time. You just got to know how to manage those time and get through to that. And our second response comes from Camille Joyce on Instagram, and she says how to be patient, how to be prayerful, how to trust the process, working together as a team. And I totally can relate to this one. I remember in quarantine time when people that have ghosted us for a long time started texting us, and I also did it too. Like, I ghosted some people and I'm still waiting for the text. I'm still waiting for them to reply. Hey Tiffany, I'm waiting for you to reply to my message. Tiffany. Okay. Yeah, so like even being prayerful and being patient, like we had to be patient with this year. So many unexpected, unforeseen things happened this year, and we just learned how to be patient.
Exactly.
You agree?
I do. And like she said, I think, we need a team. That's who we are. Even at the end of the day, when we all have our differences sometimes, we're all human. And this year hit hard, I think, for most of us. So everyone needs a team now and then, and that team is each other. So yes, I agree. Camille Joyce, I'm with you. And our third response comes from Instagram as well, and it comes from Tasha Janae _, and she says, patience and self-care is essential to growth. And Christopher, again, like all these other comments, completely agree. I think patience has been the key word for me, especially for my 2020, having a lot of things being canceled last minute, not knowing what's going to happen, all that uncertainty. Patience is key to knowing, okay, you know what, taking it day by day is the key to everything.
Tasha Janae, I am going to steal this quote. I'm going to write it down in my notes, and I'm going to live by this quote, because I really like this. Patience and self-care. I love this quote, Tasha. I love this quote so much. I'm going to really, really put this down. Patience and self-care. Oh my God, you hit the nail on the head when you say self-care, because many times we think about patience and waiting, but we don't really stop to learn much about ourselves. And I can tell you this year, for example, when we were in quarantine, I discovered so many skills I didn't know that I had, and I learned so much about myself. So this is really what this year has taught me too. I totally agree with you.
Yes, self-care for the win. Thank you so much for responding this week. We really, really appreciate it.
It's so sad, guys. We've come to the end of the show, but don't worry about that. We had so much fun. I hope you really enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. Samantha, are you excited? Can you believe that we're done with episode 2?
I can't believe we're done with episode 2, but you know what? I think it was a really great way to close it. Thank you so much for your responses. Again, we really appreciate it. It's a big part of our show. And if you want to be a part of our response and our question of the week next week, make sure you follow us on Instagram at AU Tigers Talk Show and on our Twitter at AU Tigers Talk.
It's always a pleasure being with you. Tigers Talk signing out. See you soon.